What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I have a special guest with me. His name is Nick Rody, and he is a former student at ISU. And he is also a Chicago Bears fan. He's interested in marketing just like me. And yeah, without further ado, Nick, how did you get into talking about the Chicago Bears? How did you fall in love with the Bears?
Yeah, Ave, thanks for having me on, man. I became a fan of the Chicago Bears probably when I was about 6 years old. So back in 2003, I was a huge Brian Urlacher fan growing up. That was my first Bears jersey. And ironically, a couple years later, the 2005 season came around where the Bears almost made it to the Super Bowl. And then 2006, Devin Hester was around, made it to the Super Bowl. So that's when I fell in love with the Chicago Bears. And I kind of just stuck with it. And then once I graduated from Illinois State back in 2019, I decided to start my own podcast during COVID. And it's been a lot of fun. It's called Just Another Year Chicago. Advaith is on my most recent episode that will be up later today on August 5th, 2021. So stay tuned for that. But Advaith, thanks for having me on, man. I'm very excited to talk Bears with you.
Yeah, truly an honor. So Nick, I'm asking everyone I have on my YouTube channel this, but Nick, April 29th, 2021. It's a day that I don't think many Chicago Bears fans will never forget, as it basically changed our franchise and honestly the city of Chicago, because that move spiraled into Chicago Bulls selecting AO, them going off crazy, getting DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, the Blackhawks getting a really good guy, the Whitehawks making some moves, and the Cubs being the Cubs and making bad moves. But yeah, it is what it is with the Cubs. But Nick, what was your reaction to seeing the Chicago Bears drafting Justin Fields?
It was bittersweet. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was sitting on my couch and, I was just hanging out with a couple buddies watching the draft, and you hear that Justin Fields is still on the draft board and the Bears trade up for 11. Everyone just lost their breath. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't think I've ever been more happy during a draft for the Chicago Bears. Probably the last time I was this happy with a draft was when we took Roquan Smith. But it was absolutely incredible. King Pace did a fantastic job, not giving up much for the 11th pick either, by the way. He only gave up technically one first-round pick because we swapped this year's and gave up a few later-round picks. I mean, it's vibe-changing for the Chicago Bears, to say the least. Very excited about Justin Fields for sure.
Yeah, and so let's dive right in. What do you think Justin Fields brings to the table? Again, I'm not trying to slander this person right now, but what do you think Justin Fields brings to the table versus Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah, I tried not to hit on Money Mitch either. I did like Trubisky a lot. He was a great community guy. And again, in Ryan Pace's and Mitch's defense, he was a top 3 pick quarterback-wise back in 2017. He just didn't pan out for the Chicago Bears. You can fault a lot of people for that. But, at the end of the day, he's no longer a Chicago Bear. And the difference between Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky is that Mitch Trubisky did not play against legitimate college competition. Justin Fields was able to go toe-to-toe with Trevor Lawrence. He was able to go take down other Big Ten teams. He was able to do things in college that a lot of people couldn't do. And Mitch was only a 1-year guy in college at North Carolina, which, again, you're not in a very competitive college division. You don't have that experience. And I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky is not a talented athlete. He has done, you and I are never going to be able to do something like Mitchell Trubisky's ever done. But, just the difference is, the skill set, the mindset, the overall smarts at quarterback of Justin Fields compared to Mitchell Trubisky it's mind-boggling. And it's just very exciting for the Chicago Bears to finally get a guy that actually knows what he's doing when he's throwing the football. And I'm also not slamming Nick Foles or Andy Dalton either. Both of them are great quarterbacks, Super Bowl MVP, also a guy that led the Bengals to a lot of success as well. So overall, I think that there is a very distinct difference between the two. And it's just the quarterback knowledge and the competition they had in college, to say the least.
Yeah. What do you look forward to seeing from Justin Fields this year?
I'm actually looking forward to him being a mentee. I'm not looking forward to him playing this year. As much as I want him to, I don't want this thing rushed. We rushed Mitch Trubisky in when the Mike Glennon days. And again, Mike Glennon and Andy Dalton, it's, night and day. It's completely different categories in regards to the veteran quarterback that they're in front of. But, Justin Fields, I'm very much looking forward to him being ready to go in when needed, but also continuously learning, being the best quarterback he could be, because when he is ready to be the Chicago Bears quarterback, it's going to be a great 15, 20 years of Justin Fields ripping up the Green Bay Packers, winning us a couple Super Bowls. It's going to be very, very exciting, and I'm very much looking forward to that in regards to Justin Fields this season.
Yeah, and you just talked about how you want Justin Fields to be the mentee. Now, for me, I think Justin Fields will probably start by week 4, based on what we're seeing from camp. I mean, and based like today, Justin Fields was able to drive down the field. He had one touchdown to Jesse James. I think he had another touchdown He was slinging the ball left and right. Yesterday in practice, yesterday in the Bears Family Fest, Justin Fields had probably one of the most beautiful passes I've ever seen from a Chicago Bears quarterback, where he placed it right into Rodney Adams' arms. So that was just amazing. He's had some sidearm Patrick Mahomes type of throws. He's had, plays where he's able to read a defense. He's able to diagnose the defense. And Matt Nagy talked about this on Monday. Like, hey, Justin Fields right now, he can go and call the play. Next, I want to see him read the defense. I want to see him read the cornerbacks, read the safeties, read what defenses are they in the cover 2, cover 1, man-to-man defense. What are they in? I want Justin to diagnose that, and he's starting to do that. So when do you envision Justin Fields starting?
I would say if it does come down to it and he does start this season, I would say probably week 8, week 9, or the 8th game or the 9th game. I know that our bye week is within that time range, but I'm really circled in on Bears 49ers if I had to say the exact game. The reason why is because, Trey Lance, who was drafted ahead of Fields, that a lot of people are like, why would you take Trey Lance over Justin Fields in the 49ers? Who knows? He could be starting for the 49ers at that point. It could be a very exciting game, rookie versus rookie, potentially generation type players going against each other, and a good matchup moving forward. So that is the exact game that I would want Justin Fields to go in. But in regards to that, I do want Andy Dalton. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let him go out there. Let him be a mentor. Let him continue to grow Justin Fields. And if he's winning games for the Chicago Bears, he's winning games. And I just want the Bears to win. That's all I want at the end of the day. So it's nice knowing that we do have 2 strong quarterback candidates to go in at all times.
Yeah. So, what are your hopes from Andy Dalton? And I know I touched on this and I talked about how talented Andy Dalton is versus quarterbacks like Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. And, everyone, if you look at what the Broncos are having, I mean, no offense to Drew Lock, no offense to Teddy Bridgewater, but it's not good. I'm sorry, it's not good. But Andy Dalton, he provides us with insurance, and he's not going to be flashy. He's not going to be a Ferrari. He's going to be a Toyota. He's going to get the job done. But, like a Toyota, sometimes, that 400 is pretty nice. Sometimes Andy Dalton is going to have some nice passes. Sometimes he's going to be like that Toyota Supra, and he's going to throw some really amazing, beautiful passes. What are you looking forward to seeing from Andy Dalton?
I'm really looking forward to seeing a guy that can be a game manager. And that's something that the Bears have been missing for a super long time. Someone that can switch plays at the line, someone that can read the defense, kind of like you were saying you want to see out of Justin Fields. That's something that I am really looking forward to seeing out of Andy Dalton, because he does have the ability to do that. He's proven he can do that in the NFL. And overall, very, very exciting to see Andy Dalton do that for the Chicago Bears. And that's something that a lot of this very young offense needs, is a guy that can be, good cop, bad cop, kind of like, hey, you need to do this. This is not what you should be doing. And they go, oh, well, Mitch told me to do this last year. Well, and then he goes, I'm not Mitch. I'm Andy Dalton. I'm 11 years pro. I've been to multiple Pro Bowls. I know a lot more than Mitch at this point. So that's what I'm looking forward to out of Andy Dalton.
Yeah, and I want to touch on this before I move on to Teven Jenkins and our other rookies. But I think it was talked about it a lot last year on how Matt Nagy, he's a good play creator. He's just not a good play caller. What do you think about Matt Nagy? Do you think Matt Nagy is a good play caller, or do you think the reason we failed last year was due to Mitch's inabilities to command the offense?
That's a really good, tough question. At the end of the day, when Bill Lazor took over, the offense did explode. In regards to explode, it was much better than what the Bears were doing. To say they weren't a top 15 offense, but they were better. And I think that in regards to that, Matt Nagy's a leader. There's no doubt about it. Matt Nagy can lead a team. He can mentor a team. He can be a guy that needs to pump you up and make good decisions. But in regards to play calling, there's two different categories: play calling and being a leader. And I think he should leave the play calling to his offensive coordinator, because that's what he hired him for. And there was continued success there until Matt Nagy took over again. I think there needs to be more collaboration. I think that a lot of the fault does fall on Matt Nagy. But it's hard to say. It's very hard to say, because Mitchell Trubisky did make a lot of mistakes. Nick Foles made a lot of mistakes. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, I'm going with it's Matt Nagy was the reason why there was a lot of difficulties on offense last year.
Yeah, I think with Matt Nagy, and what I want to see from him this year, Nick, is can he adapt to Justin Fields' strengths? I don't think Mitch completely threw Matt Nagy under the bus, but he said when talking about his offensive coordinator in Buffalo, how he was playing to Mitchell Trubisky's strengths and how Mitch loved that. Kind of seemed like a shot at Nagy, like, hey man, you never did that for me. But yeah, that kind of seems like Matt Nagy this year, he really has to improve that play calling and has to play to Fields' strengths and Dalton's strengths, because if he does not do that, the Bears will fail and Matt Nagy will be fired.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with you.
So Nick, on a scale of Dave Portnoy's pizza review scale, how worried are you about Teven Jenkins and his lingering back injury? It's been 8 days and Tev still hasn't played. So how worried are you about Tev?
So are you saying that 10 is I'm super worried and 1 I'm not super worried, or is it flipped?
Yeah. 10, you're super worried. 1, you're it's gonna be good. He'll be fine.
If you asked me this last week, I was a 2. I'm probably now at a 5.6 right now. So I'm definitely more leaning towards I'm really worried, because I am concerned about player health. That's something that more people should be concerned about. And he is a human being. He has a family. He has to look out for himself. He does. He has to do what he has to do. And if he isn't ready, he has to sit. And I'm worried about him and his health. And I am worried about the Chicago Bears. I'm worried about both. Definitely his health more over him actually playing. But it's starting to get there. Because he is a young guy. He hasn't even played a snap in the NFL, and nothing more would be just a back injury that they're not really going into, which is something else that's kind of concerning. Usually when they try to cover things up like that, that's usually more serious than they want it to be. So I'm 5.6 as of right now on August 5th.
Yeah, it might be a herniated disc. That's what I heard from someone who predicted Matt Nagy's not telling the full story, and that's something that shouldn't surprise you about Matt Nagy. He usually tends to hide the truth, which sucks. I wish he would just be transparent. But I'm probably around the same boat as you, Nick. Honestly, like the fact that this guy hasn't played and he was injured, he had a back injury last year, and he was not able to play in some games. And you look at the offensive line, and we'll dive into this next, but you have Cody Whitehair there, you have Sam Mustipher, James Daniels is injured, Tev is injured, and Jermaine Ifadi is injured. But we did talk about this on your podcast. Larry Borum is proving to be a promising guy, so hopefully Larry Borum can be that left tackle, and when Tev is ready, maybe he can be that right tackle. I prefer Tev to play that right tackle position. But what do you think about what I just now said?
Yeah, it's unfortunate how the offensive line is doing right now in regards to their health. A lot of it, we talked about it on my podcast as well, is that a lot of it could be rust. A lot rust getting off. Got these guys. It could be tweak injuries. Teven Jenkins obviously sounds like the most serious in regards to a herniated disc, but Larry Borum, London, who was on my podcast, said it best. A door opens for a young guy who had someone in front of him, and that young guy needs to take every single advantage possible and be the best player he can be to get time in the NFL, to prove he belongs in the NFL. And even if he didn't prove it, he's worked his butt off in college to get to where he is today. But I'm excited. I think Larry Borum has done a really, really good job so far stepping in. Kind of like you, I would like Jenkins to play right tackle the way it's looking right now. Borum is looking very strong at left tackle, according to reports. I actually just got a text while we were on this podcast from London, and Tony, who said, hey, some of my friends were there today, and Borum looks pretty good at left tackle. So, and he looks like the type of guy that belongs at left tackle. So hopefully there'll be more to come on that. Obviously, Jenkins is a very big, strong man, and we're hoping that for him to be that left tackle whenever he is ready. But it's unfortunate how bad the offensive line is shaking up right now.
Yeah. So going along with what we're talking about on offense, what do you think about David Montgomery and what do you think about Darnell Mooney? Two young stars who in the NFL are disrespected at levels I cannot express. The fact that Darnell Mooney is not being talked about, James Jones came to camp and he was like, so the Bears just have Allen Robinson. I don't know who they have other than that. Hello, Darnell Mooney's there. So what do you think about Darnell Mooney and David Montgomery and how disrespected they are and what they will do in 2021 and your thoughts on what they done in training camp?
Yeah, well, Darnell Mooney's looking for blood now. After that comment, I don't blame him. He's going to be going after everyone and anyone that's on the field, whether you're a lineman, whether you're a DB, linebacker. Darnell Mooney is going to put you on skates and go deep down the field. I think Darnell Mooney could get Most Improved Player of the Year if he continues at this, progression that he's shown just in camp. I mean, the offseason, he looks bigger, he looks stronger, he looks faster. I'm very excited about Darnell Mooney, but I'm happy you brought up David Montgomery because that's a guy that I don't think is getting talked about enough. David Montgomery is an absolute monster. I mean, he's not a big man in regards to height, but he's 220 plus. He's fast. He can bulldoze over guys. I mean, the guy from Iowa State he's a different guy in the NFL. He's a different beast, and I can see why Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy wanted him so bad. I am very, very excited for David Montgomery to come on the scene and prove everyone that he is a top 10 running back in today's NFL. I think he's going to have a 1,500 plus season in total, but who knows? He could even get 1,800, 1,900 yards if his offensive line stays healthy and he has proper play calling. David Montgomery is going to have a really good year this year.
Yeah. And Nick, what do you think about Allen Robinson playing that slot wide receiver position? Do you think he's going to succeed? I think he will because Allen Robinson, I recently learned, is not a deep threat. He's not fast, but I think Allen Robinson can beat a slot corner, or he can beat all these other corners, and he can get those passes, those quick passes. Andy Dalton, he's a guy who gets the ball out quick. So having Allen Robinson there is really, really beneficial for him. So what do you think about Allen Robinson being that slot corner?
I think it's great. I mean, big body receiver playing slot. Usually you usually have a nickel corner on you in that situation. And if Allen Robinson's bigger than the guy going against him, it's going to be a really good thing for him. You always have to put your number one DB on him. So let's say that you're playing the Rams and Ramsey's on the other side of the ball. Ramsey's going to be out of his position, though he can play really anywhere. He's not going to be used to doing that stuff. And then that opens up the opportunity for Darnell Mooney, Marquise Goodwin, Bird, anyone to just go deep downfield with the Jets and absolutely catch any ball that's deep thrown to them, whether that be Justin Fields or Andy Dalton. So I'm all about it. It sounds like you are too, but I'm all about it.
Yeah, same. So I want to dive into Cole Kmet. I've seen a lot of hate on Cole Kmet this summer. I don't know why, but I've seen a lot of hate on Cole Kmet. And in training camp, Cole Kmet has been impressing everyone. He's been getting that yards of separation. He today was that long snapper because of some injuries that we've had. Pat Scales has COVID-19, or he was on a COVID-19 list. So what do you think about Cole Kmet, and do you think he can break out this year?
Yeah, I think he can. He definitely looked really good from Tight End University this past year when he attended down in Nashville. So he looked really good there. He looks like he's put on some muscle, which I didn't think he could put on anymore because he already is a pretty big guy as is. But he's got a great mentor in Jimmy Graham. And he's learning from the best. He's doing really great things. He really broke out the second half of the season. And I think that if Cole Kmet continues this leadership that he's taking on and he, continues to progress the way he has, I think he could be a legitimate tight end, top 10 tight end in the NFL in the next 2 years. Maybe not this upcoming year, but in the next 2 years for sure.
Wow, Nick, I love the heat. I love the bold predictions from you. I agree with you. I do think Cole Kmet will be a top tight end. I think Matt Nagy will use Cole Kmet as that Travis Kelce type of tight end, that Rob Gronkowski type of tight end. And I think he will really succeed. And once Justin Fields and Cole Kmet connect, no offense to Jesse James here. I love Jesse James. I want to know what your thoughts on Jesse James are. But no offense, but Cole Kmet is going to become a really, really awesome security blanket for Andy Dalton this year and for Justin Fields as he becomes the starting quarterback for the Bears. But quickly, Nick, what do you think about Jesse James?
I think he was a great signing. I didn't know much about Jesse James. I know we signed Jake Butt before Jesse James, and Jake Butt ended up retiring from the NFL. So we picked up Jesse James for, I believe, a veteran's minimum. And he's doing a really good job. His first big play was that awesome over the field or, cross field catch where he jumped. He had a crazy vertical, great catch, brought it down, brings good mentorship along to Cole Kmet. And I think that Jesse James, like you said, isn't going to get that much playing time, but when called upon, Jesse James is going to get the job done for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. So who do you think will be our number three wide receiver this year with us trading Anthony Miller? Do you see it being Daz Newsome? Do you see it being Demarius Byrd? Or do you see it being Marquise Goodwin?
I got to go with Marquise Goodwin. Yeah, you can't deny experience, you can't deny speed, and that guy's got both of it. I also really respect him for what he's done. I mean, like, he was training as hard as he could, and then he tried out for the Olympics, came in 19th in Olympic trials. You have a leader like that that's not only representing your country, but he also represented the Chicago Bears at trials. I really like Marquise Goodwin. I think he has the skills for it. He's so fast, and he's kind of a, that meme where you press the upgrade button and it's one person, you press the upgrade button, it's another person. It's kind of like you put Taylor Gabriel, no respect to Taylor Gabriel. I love that guy. I was really upset when he got hurt. But it was like Taylor Gabriel, and then you get Marquise Goodwin as the upgrade. So I'm really, really excited about that. I think he's at number 3 though, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Marquise Goodwin too. I think he's going to be our X factor this year because, he hasn't really been, he's been at NFL for quite some time. Yeah. But I don't know if he hasn't really been like a number 2 receiver before. So I think he's going to really shock a lot of people this year. So I think Marquise Goodwin is going to shock people. And I think Marquise Goodwin has overcome a ton of adversity. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but a few years ago, Marquise Goodman unfortunately lost his son due to complications. And the fact that he was able to overcome that, I mean, it's just truly amazing. So I think Marquise Goodwin has a real good story, and I want him to succeed here in Chicago.
Yeah, I heard about that. Unfortunate for his son. And I actually watched live the touchdown that he caught, and I did not understand why he was so emotional after that touchdown catch. But when I learned that story, he was able to play for his son. It was really humbling. So it definitely a feel-good story. Great guy, and wishing him the best of luck on this roster.
Yeah, for sure. So who do you think is our X factor, and who do you think is that player on offense that not a lot of people are talking about?
Ooh, that's a good one. Damian Williams, I think. I don't think enough people are talking about him enough. He had a really good Madden rating for all the Madden fans out there. But also, he's had some really slick plays in camp so far. He looks really comfortable with Andy Dalton. He's won a Super Bowl, so he brings that mentality like this is what it takes to win a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs when they won a couple years ago. He's very fast, quick. He's a bigger Tyreek Cohen. And why Cohen's out, unfortunately, due to the ACL injury, he is going to fill in. He's going to be a very big X factor, in my opinion, for the Chicago Bears, as Nagy can stretch his playbook out a little bit, be more aggressive. And I look forward to him. He looks really good so far. I hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And let's quickly talk about the defense. I want to get you out quick. So for the defense, let's dive into the most important question on that defense. And who's going to be that number cornerback, Nick? Is it going to be Desmond Trufant? Is it going to be Kendall Bodor? Or maybe, as I talked about on your podcast, could it potentially be Thomas Graham Jr.?
I'm a big Kendall Wilder fan. His story is also very humbling. He's been a leader through college. He did really well. He went to a smaller university, but he was drafted to the Bears, and he did a really good job filling in last year. in regards to when Jalen Johnson got hurt and was kind of constantly put in. But he has that leadership mentality. He's really fast. He can pop somebody if he has to. I really like Vildor as, filling in for Kyle Fuller's spot. As much as Desmond Trufant has the experience, he's not the same corner that he was in Atlanta when he was one of the better corners in the league. And he can play that mentor role, but we'll see. I got Vildor though. I know you're a big Thomas Graham Jr. guy though.
Yeah, I think Thomas Graham Jr. is going to be that slot corner. And I forgot to talk about on your podcast, but slot corners oftentimes go against the speedy wide receivers. I just talked about it with Marquise Goodwin. I talked about, how Marquise Goodwin is going to be the number 3 receiver. And usually teams put their fastest receiver at that slot corner position. And Thomas Graham Jr., who is a star, who I'm going to come up with a video on my stars, but, he was able to keep up with Marquise Goodwin, and he was able to force an incompletion, which I love to see. And I'm really, really excited to see what he can bring to the table. But yeah, Nick, other than that, what do you think about the defense as a whole?
I'm very excited for Sean Desai to take over this defense. This defense was built by Ryan Pace for Vic Fangio. And then, we brought in, when Vic went to Denver to become the head coach, Ryan Pace still had the defense that he put together for Chuck Pagano. But Chuck Pagano had a completely different style of defense that these guys not only were not used to playing, but that's not their playing type. And Sean Desai already has this defense making the offense life hell, which I am all about that because it makes the offense better at the end of the day. But the defense is getting that mojo back. And I really think that, Sean Desai is the reason this Chicago Bears defense is going to go back to that 2018 level. And I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, that's facts. I agree too. First of all, Sean Desai is like a professor. A lot of the guys love him, and Sean Desai's story is so unique. I'll touch on this quickly because I do want to let you go. But Sean Desai is Indian and I'm Indian. It's really cool to see him break out in NFL, and it really opens the door for Indians like me to get into NFL and to potentially become head coaches, general managers in the NFL. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And last question of the day, Nick, what do you give our record to be this season?
Ooh, you're breaking out my prediction a little early. I haven't officially given that yet. I'm going to be giving that on my podcast as well, right the day before the season starts. But right now, as the season stands, I have the Bears going 11-6.
Interesting. Yeah, I predicted we would probably win 8 or 9 games. Because I'm a little bit not pessimistic about our schedule, the offensive line. When Justin will start. So those are all some factors that we need to still figure out, but I love that, Nick. So, and then last question actually is, this is for you. Where can people reach you on Instagram? Where can they find a YouTube channel and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So our YouTube that you can find us on is called Just Another Year Chicago. Our Twitter is official JAY, Shy, CHI. So look out for that. And then our Instagram is official J Shy as well. And then you can follow me, Chicago Nic. I don't spell my name with a K, so it's Chicago then Nick. And you can find out all this information there as well. So I look forward to hearing from your fans. I hope your fans tune into my podcast with you. You did a great job today. It was a lot of fun. We went back and forth. So happy we were able to get this done. And thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, for sure, Nick. And thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.